I would like to acknowledge that this video is being filmed on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander or First Nations people who may be watching this video today. Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a tag video for you. I was tagged by Mel and I'll leave her channel and her tag response video down below, as well as a link to the original creator of the 20 questions tag. I haven't done one of these in a while, so forgive me if I'm a little bit rusty. So question 1 is, what are your favorite genres to read? I love to read romance, I love urban fantasy, and I love sci-fi books. I will read outside of those genres, but those typically are the ones that I reach for the most. Question 2, do you read more relatively popular books or more underrated books? I probably lean more towards the popular books, mostly because I tend to hear about them and want to read them. I also usually have a big list of new release books that I'm really excited about, so probably more popular books, but I do dip my toe into underrated books as well. Question 3 is, from which author have you read the most books from? That would most likely be Nalini Singh, mostly because I've read all of the Psy Changeling and Psy Trinity books, which we're now up to 20 of those, plus the Archangels books, which I think we're up to, I think those are up to about 13. I've read a lot of her contemporaries and some of her mysteries as well, so she's probably my most read author now. If you'd asked me about 5 years ago, it was probably Matthew Riley, but no, I think Nalini Singh has well and truly overtaken him. Question 4 is, what book audience do you gravitate towards the most? I typically gravitate towards more adult titles. I will read young adult now, but I'm very selective about what I want to read. It's mostly Australian young adult titles, unless something really piques my interest. That said, if we were counting everything that I read in a year, I would probably have to say kids books, because I read more picture books during the week than I talk about here on my channel. Question 5 is the most relatable character. I think most recently, Frankie from Always Only You by Chloe Leese was a very relatable character. There were just a lot of things about her that I related to, and also Nora from Book Lovers by Emily Henry, just being a very professional woman who is very career driven and career oriented, and who is fiercely protective of her family. Like, those are things that are very relatable to me. Question 6 is, have you always loved reading? Short answer, yes. I think we all go through cycles where we read and pick up things more often than others, and I've certainly had those periods in my life, but I have always been a reader and I've always loved books. Question 7 is, what's a book that feels like it was written for you? I find this one a really weird question, because I don't think any book is written for me. I think there are books that I relate to a lot more. It's like that previous question, and those books just hold a special place in my heart, but there would be too many to name. They're honestly just those books that I go back to time and time again, so this might be a bit of a cop-out of an answer, but I don't think that anything has been written specifically for me. I think there are things that I see in books that just stand out to me as being something that's special and something that, you know, captures your attention. Question 8 is first or third person. In romances, I prefer first person. If I'm reading sci-fi, I prefer third person. Question 9 is, are you a mood reader or a TBR reader? I am far more successful when I'm a mood reader, I find, but I do like a good TBR, as long as I give myself plenty of wiggle room for things. So I do set loose TBRs, but I am never beholden to them, because otherwise I would never pick them up. Question 10 is series or standalones. It kind of depends. I will say I do love a good standalone. I think if you can wrap up a story in one book and leave me completely satisfied, I think that is fantastic. Series are great, and I love revisiting the same characters, because I love that world building, and I love that you get to return to old favorites. But I think it's really amazing when authors can write one book and that book is just, you know, almost, if not the perfect book in that moment. I think it depends on what it is that I'm reading. Question 11 is, do you annotate your books? And I do. You guys know that I tab my books and that I have a different color coding for what it is that I'm annotating. I am also now moving into books that I have read multiple times. So like Caressed by Ice, Heart of Obsidian, a few others. The next time that I read them, I'm actually going to go through and I'm going to write in my notes and highlight things and things like that. So I actually do the physical annotating as well as the tabs. But mostly I'm making sure that anything that I am doing that to are books that I love and that I know I'm going to keep for a decent amount of time. Mostly because I know when I unhauled all of those 60 books that I had to remove a whole lot of tabs. So I yeah, I'm a little bit more selective now in which books I actually do that too. Question 12, long or short books? Short books means I can read more, but that doesn't always mean I get the same payoff with the story. So I think I'm definitely more a mid-range. I lean towards more shorter to average length books rather than long books because, yeah, I like to have the payoff. 13, favorite bookish tropes. No one will be surprised by this. Morality chain is one of my favorite romance tropes. I also like enemies to lovers. I like forced proximity or only one bed. I think that's always really fun. Question 14 is your favorite TV or movie adaptation of a book. For this, my answer for this is always the same. It is Arrival by Ted Chiang. This is a sci-fi speculative fiction short story that features in his story collection Stories of Your Life and Other. The short story is called Stories of Your Life, and it is about first contact with aliens and a young linguist who is charged with figuring out a way to communicate with them. And in being able to communicate with them, she begins to see things about her future life, and that affects how she makes decisions. This one does have content warnings in here for death of a child, so be aware of that going into it. But the short story is gorgeous and the movie is just beautiful. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Question 15 is, do you DNF? Yes, I DNF. I will DNF after 2 or 3 pages if the book pisses me off enough. So I have absolutely no issue with putting a book down and never picking it up again. Question 16 is, what's a book that you wish had a sequel? I don't have one. I think if an author can write a decent standalone, then I do not need a sequel. 17 is favorite fictional place or setting. And I was trying to think about this one for a while, and then I ended up settling on the Kate Daniels world, even though if I lived there, I would probably die within about 5 minutes of being in that world. It's very sort of dystopian, ravaged by magic sort of setting. But I think the Andrews really built up that world and it became such a living thing in my mind. So it's, yeah, definitely one of my favorites, just because of the possibilities that can happen in that particular world. Question 18 is ebooks, audiobooks, or physical books. I am an ebook or a physical book reader. I can do audiobooks. You guys know I've talked about this many times. I can do audiobooks, but I have to have I have to have the words in front of me to follow along with it. Question 19 is, what is your preferred page length in a book? 350 pages is a great length for a book. If you can get around that mark, then it's pretty good. And then question 20, the final question, is tag some of your friends to do this tag. I'm going to tag Bianca from My Bookworm Sanctuary. I'm going to tag Tiff from Tiff Talks Pages, Carrie from Fantastically Taboo Books, and Julie from Keep Calm with Coffee and Books. So if you guys want to do the tag, feel free to do it. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching today, guys. I hope that you're doing well. In the comments, you can let me know if you have a book that you think needs a sequel. Because obviously I couldn't answer that question, but maybe you can. So let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, everyone.